first things you want to do when you get one of these old 123s is pull off the fuse box cover and just plan to replace all the fuses. You say, well, you know, some of them look okay, some of them don't look okay. Look here, you've got some that are corroded. I see one, possibly two that are broken. You can look at these and they won't look broken, but they'll be just slightly. Watch this one when I pull on it. See, it'll come up. It's just cracked. It's not like it's burnt. So a lot of times these are cracked, or even the ends can break off, and you may look at it here and say, oh, that looks fine. So just plan to replace them all. You notice there's 3 different colors in most of these fuse boxes. And if you have the chart inside the lid, that makes this really nice, because you can see there's 3 fuses. You have little symbols. The little square is for 8 amp. The dark dot is for 25 amp. And then the round circle is for the red fuse, or 16 amp. So most of these are 8 amp. You've got the low beam there that is a 16 amp that couples up with the right fog light. Now, if you don't have this chart, you might Google it. Maybe you can find a copy of it online. They're different for gasoline and diesel cars, so not every W123 is the same. If you don't have this, then what you need to do is pull one fuse at a time and replace it with the same color, hoping that the previous owner didn't get these all mixed up. There's an assortment of aluminum and the brass alloy. So I'm just going to pull them all out. Just pull them all out because I have the chart here. And then I'm going to get in and clean all those contacts. I'll show you a few of these. This one here looks corroded. You can see some kind of corrosion up there. And that one, let's see what that one controls, just out of curiosity. It's really hard to see the number up there. I'll get in there and take a look at that. But I'll show you some of these after I pull them, particularly the ones that look real bad. I thought I'd show you close-ups of the 3 worst ones that I pulled out. This one's kind of interesting. In the fuse box, it looked okay, but as soon as you pull it out, you say, man, the tip's gone. This one here is heavily corroded, and when they get this corroded, you're not going to make contact. And then here's the one that was broken, and sometimes you look at it from a distance, you know, particularly if it's not bent. Like here, it was not bent before I took it out. And so they'll just break right there in the middle where it's real thin. And it can fool you at first glance. These are the worst of them. Now let me show you the box. We've got some of those contact points that are pretty corroded. Let's see if we can get in here and show you. There's the big one. That one was probably not making contact. And if you look down here, there's a couple more with some corrosion. So before we put those new fuses in, we're going to want to go in here with a brass brush and clean all those contacts thoroughly. Take your time doing this. It's going to take some serious brushing to get rid of this corrosion. You don't want to use a real stiff brush because you can scratch these contacts. So just keep working with that brass brush that I provide in the kit. And I've even cleaned the area around where it's going to seal. We provide a silicone dielectric grease in the kit. You don't have to do this. I recommend if you live in a high moisture environment like the Pacific Northwest, that this silicone dielectric grease will help retard future corrosion. And you can put it on the tips of the fuses, or you can just put it on the contacts. It's a little bit quicker to just go around. Don't wipe. Just take in there and just roll it a little bit. You only need a dab, and then you need to come up here and also put a dab on each of these contacts as well. Okay, I'll go ahead and get that finished, and we'll come back and start installing those new fuses. I want to explain something about these new fuses that we're selling in our kits. We used to be able to get all copper alloy fuses in all 3 colors, and now we only have a few of the copper alloy left in the 25 amp. Now, we're not going to need any 25 amp in this 123 according to the chart. We're going to need about 7 16 amp, and the rest are 8. Now you notice these are aluminum, and some of you have watched my old videos. You know, I rag on aluminum fuses. Well, let me tell you, these are a little different than the old originals that came in these cars. Notice the brightness of this aluminum on these new fuses, and look at the dull aluminum on the old ones. These are anodized, which will really help to prevent corrosion. So don't be afraid to use these new style aluminum fuses like the ones I include in my kit. So we're ready to install them, and I'm going to bring on the tool I designed and build right here in my shop, because I got tired of trying to grab these with my fingers, grab them with needle nose, have them flying all over the engine compartment. You're going to like the way this new tool works. I am going to suggest that you get a good light when you go to do this. It's really hard to read the numbers. They're right along this bottom edge, and they're right along the top edge. The bottom edge in the W123 goes even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and up here along the top, and these are the ones that are really hard to read. They go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. So when you start looking at the chart and figuring out which fuse, you're also going to need to locate the correct number. Now we have an A and B over here. We're going to start with those. I look up at the chart. A and B are for the power windows. What's interesting is that one fuse controls the front left and the rear right window. So if you have 2 power windows fail, front to back and opposite sides, it's probably going to be a fuse. So I'm going to put these in first, and then we'll start moving down this bottom row. Take the fuse and put it on the plier like this, with the plier towards the back, about 1/3 of the way. And then you're going to take and drop the back end first, and then roll it forward and drop the front end. And then you'll release the plier, and then you're going to take your finger and you're going to rotate this back and forth. That'll do 2 things. It'll help the contact seat for both ends of the fuse. It will also make sure that it's dropped into those 2 holes. All right, now let's do the top one. Okay, we're going to rock this back and forth a couple times. Make sure it's in. Okay. Then we'll come across to number 2. Okay, so that's 2, 4, 6. I think we can remember that. Number 2 is for the clock, trunk light, and a bunch of miscellaneous lights. It's a square one, so it's 8 amp. Okay, about 1/3 of the way back. I'm going to rock it into the back here and then move it forward. And then we're going to rotate. Now look, see, that moves, so that means I'm not in. So you want to bring it up a little bit, and there we go. And then I'm rocking it back and forth, making sure that it is in those contacts securely. All right, the next one is number 4. It's for the cigarette lighter, glove compartment light, radio, and so on. It is also an 8 amp. It would be a 16 amp here. It shows a circle only if you have a heated front seat. And this car does not have a heated front seat. So we'll be installing a standard 8 amp fuse here. All right, I'm going to rock it. Okay, back and forth. Okay, that one's good. All right, I think that's enough of an illustration on how we're going to do this, because it's going to take a while to finish all this, and I'll just go off camera. What I'm most excited about when I'm done is to get in the car and see if any of that electrical equipment works. It didn't work a few days ago when I did the initial inspection. This is what it should look like when you're all done. Look at how nice and straight all those fuses are. Notice there's one fuse missing. If you check the chart on this 123, number 5 shows no fuse. So I've double checked my color codes, and I'm ready to see if those new fuses made any improvement on old Spence. Okay, I'm hoping for a miracle. Let's see what works and what doesn't work. All right, headlights. We have headlights. High beam. Blinkers. We have blinkers. Oh, no dash lights. That's not going to be a fuse issue. Now let's look at some of these other things. Driver's side power window. Nothing. Driver's side rear window. Nothing. Front window, and then we're going to have the same. So there's no change in the power windows. Sunroof, please. Will the sunroof work? No. No noise coming from the sunroof. Now let's try the blower motor. You know, I definitely have to have heat when I go on my test drives. Oh, look at that. We have a blower motor. Oh, okay. Well, we still have some work to do. We don't have any interior lights here. So it wasn't the miracle that I thought it was going to be, but I'm happy about the blower motor. I wasn't interested in spending time working on this climate control panel and the blower motor just to get this thing out on the road. There's one of the things I have to do, and it's not electrical, but I'm staring right at it, and this is a shifter. I noticed one time when I put it up into park, it wouldn't start. But look at the amount of play in the bushings. I think they're probably totally gone. So I'm going to have to replace these shift bushings before I take it on the big trip. I really consider this a safety issue. I remember I picked up one Mercedes years ago that it rolled down a hill and ran into a tree because the person put it in park and the shift bushings were so shot it didn't go into park. So that's something I'm going to do when I get it up in the air the next time. But as far as electrical, okay. We'll move on later, but that's enough to get this thing out on the road.